Greetings from Hopalong Hollow. This is Jerry. Look at these beautiful ornamental cabbages. Just a few of the things you can plant in the fall that should last all the way through March, depending on your climate, of course. But what we're going to talk about in the second part of the video is creating a pretty picture with your bulbs, your seeds, your perennials, and your existing plants, all of these things which can be done in the fall, and creating a beautiful garden. Well, isn't that what we all want to do? Okay, before I get out there and start digging some holes, I wanted to show you the latest box that came in. This was one of my last-minute purchases. It was one of those big online sales from the Holland Bulb Farm Company up in Wisconsin, I believe is where they're out of. And I want to show you everything I got here in this box for $69, because this is quite some kind of a deal. So we have just bunches and bunches of narcissus and muscari and some drumstick alliums in the bottom of the box. All kinds of tulips. For example, here 48 Candy Prince tulips. We have 28 negritas. We have about 30 mixed hyacinth and about 28 of these friendship tulips, 28 of these mixed tulips. There are 48 mixed daffodils. I mean just look at all this. They threw in a couple extra purple sensation alliums. But the thing I am most anxious to plant are these enormous Darwin tulips here. Flowers up to 4 to 5 inches across, 12 of them. I cannot wait to see what these look like, the size of these bulbs. So this was a super good deal. Today, November 18th, they are still having sales to get rid of all their bulbs. They've got to do that because those bulbs aren't going to be any good to them in a couple months. So you still have a chance to go out, get online, and get some bulbs. By separating everything according to its bulb class, I'm able to figure out exactly what I've got now, and then I'll be able to plan on where to put everything. So I've also taken notes as to the height, the bloom time, and how deep to plant each thing here, and that will help me determine where all these wonderful things are going to grow. My 2 donkeys produced this much poop for me in 1 week. And the thing about donkeys is that they always poop in the same pile. So it's pretty easy to collect it. But the problem with my donkeys is they don't do it outside the barn. They always do it right smack in the doorway of the barn or in the middle of their stall. So, well, it's easy to collect. And I'm going to take this poop and I just dump this donkey poop right into my gardens. And over the winter it turns into compost and does its thing. So I'm just going to work my way around this yard and decide where to put things. So my first decision is going to be to naturalize this little section right here and these daffodils, which are the various daffodils, lots of yellows, but they're also mixed with purple muscaris, also known as grape hyacinth. So I've already dug this in. It's got a lot of sand, and you need really good drainage with your bulbs. And I've worked in some donkey manure, and it's pretty rotted already, so it's basically compost. This is a pussy willow bush, and there's a blueberry bush in there, and there are 2 little dwarf pear plum trees. One is I just planted yesterday, and this is going to be the hole for the other one, which hasn't been put in yet. But basically, I just want those daffodils to just naturalize just right here in this little area, so that when you come around the sidewalk here, it's just going to be a beautiful little burst of spring color. And then I might put a few tulips in there. I'm thinking about these, and 28 of them. And then I'll start working my way into the potager and just work my way all the way around until I have used up every single bulb. When you're doing your planning for your fall garden, think about, what is this going to look like? Or at least, what do I want this to look like in 6 months? What is going to happen in this garden? So our usual spot that we've been working on is the Potager, so that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to start in this little pocket right here, which is right inside the gate. So when you walk through the gate or walk past your drive or your walkway, when you go along your path, think about what's going to be growing right there at your feet. What is the first thing you're going to see when you open up that gate? You want it to just have impact. You want it to be beautiful and pleasing and just make you smile. So here, taking what I've already got, is basically a little pocket of herbs. We've got 2 young lavender plants. We've got a hollyhock that was just planted from seed this year, so that's going to get much bigger and will be blooming next year. And behind that are the last of the salvia, which is also going to come back. So I've got this nice little section here in my plan, and actually what I've done here is according to color, according to bloom time, height, and depth. I've planned these plants. So here we have the muscari, which will be going along the walkway. We've got the short Ivory Queen allium. I've thrown in those wonderful drumstick alliums. Those are going to be about 20 inches tall, bright, beautiful burgundy heads. Little heads, they're only about 1 inch. And mingled all throughout here are the pink tulips. These wonderful pink tulips, probably I think about 30 of them. And back there in the corner, that gladiator, which is quite tall, probably get to be about 30 to 36 inches, and it'll go right up over that fence, blending in beautifully with the hollyhocks as they grow. Think about the colors. Think about the shapes. Think about what this is going to look like when it all comes together in your garden. So you might be thinking, well, that's an awful lot of stuff to put in one spot. Well, really, it's not, because all these things are not going to be blooming at the same time. Oh my goodness, if they were. But they will sort of overlap. So the tulips and the alliums and the muscari, these are going to bloom in late spring. And just when they're starting to fade, the drumstick allium will be coming up in early summer, and the large allium will be coming up as well, early summer. And hopefully these lavenders will be twice as big as they are now. They'll start producing some beautiful little blooms in summer. The alliums will last all the way through to August, and then just at that time, all these beautiful things right here will start to be blooming as well. So those are just things you want to think about so that you have a consistent and constant bloom in your garden. And then, of course, we've also got the herbs that are already here as well. Now, right across the little walkway here, in a very tiny pocket, I'm going to repeat the pink tulips in this little bitty space right here. And I've dug it about 5 inches deep, put my soil in a bucket. I'll probably put in about 10 of those pink tulips. Cover them up with a combination of what was already in there, which was a sandy soil and some compost. So imagine, if you will, you walk through your gate, and greeting you are those beautiful pink tulips, those lovely bulbs of Ivory Queen allium, and on the other side those pink tulips are repeated right here in this little pocket. And you're walking along your path, and in this strawberry bed you're repeating, extending the pink, only going to a little bit of a different color. About 30 of those pink mixed daffodil bulbs were put in here, as well as some pink allium roseum. And those I don't have a picture of, but I can't even describe them. They're so incredible. Now, underneath all this, I've sprinkled little pink primrose seeds. So those will be coming up too, along with the strawberries. I replaced those trees I told you about last time and put in 2 dwarf peach trees. I love the idea of putting dwarf peach trees in your potager because they're small. And just imagine those beautiful peaches blooming right among your flowers. Isn't that a lovely, lovely thought? And then I thought along this fence, I've got some delphiniums in there. They don't do very well here in East Tennessee. But I know what does do well here in East Tennessee is something very close to delphiniums. And that is larkspur. Larkspur looks a lot like delphinium. This is seed. This should do very well here, and this is something you can sow in the winter. So I'm going to plant it all the seed all along this edge, as well as the edge around the other section of fence. So now we keep coming along the corner, and here we have some of these wonderful little cabbages, which I picked up pretty inexpensively at the garden center at the last minute for $10. I got an entire tray of violas, and I got about 30 ornamental cabbages. Wonderful little plants that do so well in the winter because they can survive to 10 degrees. And if you're in a mild winter, you can actually grow these all the way through March, and they just get bigger and bigger and more beautiful. So here in this strip, right in front of the cold frame, which I will be using, I've underplanted with bright red tulips and the violas and the ornamental cabbages. I work inside this little pocket right here in the potager and see what lovely creative things we can do in a small space like this. I'm going to start out by planting garlic right here in this little section. This garlic is something my husband really uses a lot of in his cooking. And so this year I'm planting things that will really be used. Now to do the garlic, it's very simple. It's simply garlic that you get from the store, the grocers. You separate the cloves, and then I'm going to just push these into this nice earth that I've got prepared. I'm just going to push them in about 1 inch in nice, neat little rows. And since I only have 20 cloves, I'm going to give them a little bit of space in between, probably 4 inches. Then I'm going to show you how to do something in a small thing like a vessel or a tub or a wonderful wheelbarrow. This is going to be really fun to do this wheelbarrow. Last year in this wheelbarrow I planted candy striped tulips and muscari, and you can see that the muscari right now is trying to grow up again. It's a little bit early for that, so I'm just going to chop their little heads. Talked about how these bulbs multiply underground. I just went ahead and decided to pull them up and rework the soil and put a lot of good bulb food in it. So here we have a good example of a muscari is having little, you can see all those little multiples on that bulb right there. Look at that beautiful root system. There's a couple more. Look, see all the little bulblets that this is producing underground? Normally I would not dig these up. I would just leave them and they would just keep spreading and spreading. But I really wanted to rework the soil so it'll be really nice for everything I'm going to put in. Wheelbarrow, which obviously is different depths. The center being the deepest, of course. Down here is about 6 inches. That's perfect for tulips. So I'm going to work in my bulb food. This has already got great compost in it. It's really, really good soil. Because I've been putting donkey poo in this all year long. So I got some really great soil. So here's the plan. I'm going to take, what have I got here? I've got these mixed bulbs. I'm not going to use all these, obviously, but these were the ones I dug up out of my tubs at the end of the season. Oh, look at them. They're already raring to go. But these are mixed colors. They were bubblegum tulips. They were pink, purple, and white, I believe. So think of those color combinations. Pink, purple, and white here in the center. And then I'm going to use these hyacinth. I've separated the bulbs so that I believe this, I'm thinking this was going to be a purple, but I've got about 15 of them. And I'm going to put these around the tulips because hyacinths like this have the most fantastic scent. And you really want to have them near a walkway or someplace where you're actually going to sniff them as you go on, past the fence or there, or you're sitting on your courtyard. So you want them someplace we can really take advantage of that wonderful scent. And then the last bulbs I'll put in will be the little drumstick alliums. These will not start blooming until around July, and they'll bloom through August. They'll be about that tall. They have those wonderful burgundy 1-inch heads, and these will be long gone by then, and so will the tulips. So I want to have something that continually growing in this wheelbarrow. And then I'm going to put in nasturtium seeds, which are peach melba and cherry rose. So when all these bigger bulbs have died out, I will still have new ones coming up. The nasturtiums will be filling this wheelbarrow, and so will those drumstick alliums, and that should be very, very lovely. Now, I've just dumped my bulbs in here so that I can pick out the fattest and the nicest ones. Just look at that. Isn't that lovely? But some of them, like I was telling you in the last video, you've got little bulblets. These aren't really going to do much. So I'm going to put these in the bulblet nursery, which is going to be a big bucket full of nice soil that I'm going to put them in there and just let them keep growing bigger and bigger for a couple of years before they can really produce some nice tulips. So I'm going to separate those out, and I'm going to put these, whatever's left, maybe 20, 30, 40 big ones in the middle. And then here I have my hyacinth groupings here and there. And then the little muscaries will just go everywhere. And so will the drumstick alliums. And then when I'm all finished with that and everybody's in the ground, then I will pop in the nasturtium seeds, because nasturtiums are one of those seeds that you can sow in your garden, directly in your garden, in the winter. So you can see that I've also taken some of those ornamental kales, cabbages that I had left over, and I've put those in the wheelbarrow as well, along with the violas. And now to the last thing I'm going to put in are going to be the very small bulbs, and that's easy. You can just take the little bulbs and press them in, because the soil is so good. You can just press them in with your fingers. Just go down about an inch, or you can use a dibber. There's some of those little babies again. See? Just split those apart. Press that in with my finger. And with your dibber, you can make a little hole and push that in as well. And then you'll fill this whole thing in, and it's going to be jam-packed. But these all are not all going to bloom at the same time, so that's the idea. You want a consistent bloom here. So during the winter months, the violas and the ornamental cabbages, I hope, will be good probably until March. The violas may keep on going throughout the entire summer, and maybe not. But after these little cabbages go out, I'll pull them up. By then, I should start getting my tulips, and my hyacinth will be coming up in here. And then, as they fade out, the drumstick alliums will start coming up, as the muscari will always be there, because they just keep on going and keep on going from early spring all the way through the summer. And also the nasturtium seeds, which I'm just going to poke in with my finger. Those should be going all the way through the summer and the autumn. So this garden, this very small compact garden, should be very, very colorful and lovely all throughout 3 seasons. Go into any detail about everything else that was planted in this potager, but it's full of tulips, and it's full of alliums and all sorts of other bulbs, of which I have already shown you. So keeping in mind when you're planting that you want to have a succession of growth. So what do you start with in the spring? Well, what is better than those bulbs? But make sure that you're going to plant something on top of those bulbs so that you keep on having a beautiful bit of color and loveliness in your garden. I think that in 5 to 6 months, this is going to be pretty wonderful. And I hope it is, because I want to show you if it worked out. Just hundreds and hundreds of more bulbs to plant, but I'm just going to go through just one more thing. This is a completely different garden. It's not in the potager, it's on off the porch. It's a pretty large space here. I'm going to go really vibrant here, something I don't normally do because I'm more into the subdued colors, but because I've got these wonderful gigantic 4 to 5 inches across Darwin tulips, I'm so excited about those. I am definitely going to pop these in the middle of this garden, surrounded by the smaller purples, and then I am going to throw in these wild and crazy orange California poppies. Now, the California poppies will not be blooming at the same time, but sometimes they do come up rather early if you plant these in the fall. So, if these are all blooming at the same time in this garden, that is just going to be absolutely wonderful. And then after they're gone, the poppies will keep on going, but I do have purple phloxes in here and brilliant yellow black-eyed Susans. Everything in here is pretty much a vibrant color scheme. So think about that, think about your colors, think about your shapes, your sizes. You're just going to have a great time because you're an artist in your garden, and your garden is your palette. Your soil is your palette, and your flowers are your paints. So you're going to have a great time if you just give it a little attention and a little planning. So from Hopalong Hollow, I hope you will do that. This is Jerry, and we'll see you next time.